Hey, there we are. We fade in from black. Hello out there, the Portland Greater Metro community. This is Native Nations. Welcome to our show. We're here with you every third Thursday of the month doing our live program. I'm David Liberty, my co-host Adam Whiterock, and our special guest tonight, Sean Cruz, who is joining us after we had some cancellations at the last minute. So Sean, thank you very much for coming on at short notice to be here tonight. And we're going to talk about a few things. One of the important issues that's current here in Portland is the food summit that happened last week. And Sean was there and a part of that. We'll talk about that. We also have a book coming out from Winona LaDuke. We've been warning you about that. It's finally almost to go to the market, right, Sean?
Yeah, you can
Anytime.
still order some copies. Go online to Winona's website, honortheearth.org.
All right. Yes, and then there are other issues that are pertinent to the Portland community that we will talk about. And what I want to mention first is the tribal fishery is ongoing at the Columbia River. You can go up there and get fresh caught salmon. And I understand that the sockeye run is very good this year. So I think they are selling sockeye, although I'm not sure about that. But I think you can get sockeye upriver if you go up there and find some tribal members who are selling it. And I noticed that they're also getting more booths in farmers markets in the community, which is great. I know, for instance, the Hood River Farmers Market happens right now, every Thursday in Hood River. And they've got, I think it's a Yakima tribal member who's selling fish there at Hood River. So it's great. I've seen them in Portland area too. So watch out for their signs that say fresh caught salmon, red and white signs, and you'll know those are the ones that the tribal members are putting out to show that the fish is available. And I had a great time at Delta Park Powwow. I was only able to go Friday night, but it was hopping. Boy, it was just a great atmosphere. It was warm and loving and fun, and I did really good in the raffles. I won a couple things, so I just wanted to brag about that. Adam was up at Muckleshoot last weekend, weren't you?
Yeah, it was better, but
Bigger?
bigger, better. How should you say? Yeah, but I'm gonna have some footage for our next show to put on for our intro, and so our viewers are get to see that. But yeah, I had a fun time up there. Really good happening.
So you're going to become a professional powwow
videographer?
No,
I'm gonna let Greeley have that one.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna just have stuff for the show. So
yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Adam. It's that intro tonight was really good. Those young guys. I like to see young guys singing in the drum. That's always good.
That's why the drum is called Young Society.
Yeah.
Young guys.
Yeah. Well, you were at the powwow, weren't you, Sean?
I was Friday night.
I saw you Friday night. That's right.
That's right.
It
was great. It was good to be out. Didn't
Glad
rain.
to see you there.
Didn't rain.
And Friday, you guys were at Convention Center.
Yeah, tell us about what happened there. That
that was
Friday lunch.
The 2012 Multnomah Food Summit, and this is the third year that they've had this food summit, and it's the first time that they've thought to include Native people.
And at the food summit, it's like they just have different foods, or kind of talk about what kind of things they have, what kind of things you saw.
They're working on all kinds of projects, So the county and city leaders were there, and directors of all these nonprofits that are related to food and sustainability. All good people. And you know what? One of the great things about it was knowing that everybody at the food summit is a potential partner. They're not the enemy. However, they don't know.
Yeah.
And see, we've been working on this Native Market Initiative for a little over a year now, and most of them had never heard of it. Had never heard of it. And
well, that's your publicist, Sean. You need to get a publicist to get the word out there.
That's what we're doing right now.
That's
right. So the thing is, they work pretty hard to try to put us into the program, And they invited us to provide someone to give the blessing. for the luncheon, okay, and that was Rose Highbearer, Wisdom of the Elders. And Wisdom Elders is having their first annual Salmon Gala tomorrow night.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. So we got to mention there's still tickets available.
I was supposed to bring the announcement with me so we could have it to refer to, but
Okay. Well, the thing is, Wisdom of the Elders, you know how to reach them.
yeah, they're easy to find on the internet.
And where's that dinner taking place? I forgot what. That's
Scottish Rite Temple. It's over by PGE Park.
Oh, okay.
Over there. Max Line runs right by it.
All right.
Yeah.
Do
And
you know what tickets are for that, Sean?
No.
Okay.
I think they're like $50 or something like that.
Something like that,
Well,
you know.
for a fundraiser.
It's
they know.
annual, first annual. Everybody's going to be there,
Mm.
you know. So, so Rose gave the blessing, and it was amazing what happened. And also, the brothers from Turquoise Pride brought the drum, and so the drum was playing outside in the plaza,
Yeah.
right? Now, even with the doors closed, you could hear the drum inside. You know, it was there. And but what was amazing, see, when Rose said, before she blessed the food, she explained to the audience that in Native culture, when you're in another people's place, it's customary to ask permission first. And so she prayed for permission to give the blessing, and then she blessed the food, right? 2 steps.
Okay, good.
And see, and what was really clear is, you see, in the history of this place, Portland, Multnomah County, no one's ever asked permission for anything from the Native people here, ever. That's pretty interesting.
Yep.
No one has ever asked permission. And that was a really important learning moment that a lot of people in high places are actually internalizing right now. They really did get it. And
So I understand that you also jumped up there and had something to say
yeah,
the
well, you know,
crowd.
this is a thing. You know,
clandestinely.
I've been working on public policy issues ever since I moved into Oregon 16 years ago. And almost all of that as a volunteer, but 6 years as Senator Avell Gordley's chief of staff. And so I do know how they get things done, you know? And I asked if we could have 5 minutes to speak to the full body instead of just in our workshop, but you know, we're only going to reach the people that are actually in the workshop, you know, but to speak to everybody, because you know, we've never been involved before. And you know, well, the schedule is tight and yada yada yada, and you know, I look at the agenda and man, these people speak all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know,
They drone
you know, I
on
think,
and
I mean, we're
on.
5 minutes, and then I see that they had set up in the audience place 2 microphones on stands, you know, like for community comments. So I said, okay, I'll wait for that. You know, that's where I'll go. And but there was some concern that I might disrupt the meeting, and so they didn't want me to do that. You know, so when I got up the microphone, this young man comes over and tells me that, sorry, there's no more room for questions. And I said, I'm going to speak with or without the microphone. And
I'll
it
yell
just
if I
went
have to.
forward, man. You know, the thing is, people had to know. You know, because part of that luncheon that we just sat through, to great big enthusiastic cheers, was they were talking about a project to build this James Beard fish market, public market, downtown at the end of the west end of the Morrison Bridge.
A fish market.
Yeah, and they're saying it's going to be, you know, outdo Pike's Market in Seattle.
Yeah.
Whoa, well, you know what? We've been working on a fish market for a year now in response to the Portland Development Commission's, the PDC's call in the grocery store initiative from a year ago. And that initiative called for concepts that came from established grocers or from the community that would address geographic food deserts in the city, already mapped out. I got a copy of the map. And improve access to healthy and wholesome foods by underserved populations. And we all know there's no native market anywhere in the region. Nowhere. There's no shortage of fish downtown except for in the river. That's where the shortage is, but there's no shortage of fish downtown.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a public policy question here because, see, the city, the county, metro, they're all joining forces on that big market they want to put downtown, you know? But who from East County is going to drive downtown or travel downtown to buy fish, first of all?
Yeah.
You know? And another part is there is no grocery in that giant quadrant east of 82nd Avenue and north of I-84. There's no grocery. That's where I live. Park Rose. There's no grocery there. So, see, that doesn't fit the demographics for the other grocers. But that'd be a great place for a native fish market. It'd be a big market. It would be a place where the tribes have their own space, you know? And we've been chasing around through the city for a year now trying to get people's attention. But because the city, the county, all these public bodies, they deal with Indian country in a way that's just been handed down for generations, you know, and that they're dealing with professionals and grantors. They're not dealing with a body that represents the native community here.
So like the Spirit Mountain Foundation, is that who you're talking about?
Well, not in particular. No, I'm talking about the city and the county and the state and all the public bodies as grantors, and the grantees are the organizations that they work with, right? That's where they see the leadership is. When actually, if the social and political system here hadn't been so thoroughly annihilated in the 19th and 20th centuries, they wouldn't be dealing with those people. They would be dealing with a council. And the council would be made up of elders and elected tribal leadership. That's who they'd be dealing with.
Well, that's who they
right.
should deal with.
Exactly. Well, you know what? They are starting to realize that. And I wanted to read something right here that I found on the Warm Springs website. It's their sovereignty statement. And what they say here really applies to this situation. And most people don't understand sovereignty. You know, today the people of the Confederated Tribes continue to assert and exercise sovereign authority over the tribal reservation, over other territory within tribal jurisdiction, over territory that may come under tribal jurisdiction in the future, and over the protection of our rights and our people and their welfare in all places. They didn't pass that off to you know, some kind of social services agency. They maintain sovereignty. And so, see, what we're working on is moving public policy, first of all, to recognize where the true tribal authority is. And it's not up to us, you know, to welcome the Yakima or the Warm Springs, the Grand Ronde to Portland. That's not up to us. That's a government-to-government issue. And see, they don't have anybody on staff anywhere that could name the current chief and the last two chiefs. They don't have anybody on staff that could identify Native Alaskan from Warm Springs culture. It's never been important. But you know, when we did the workshop, I asked people to visualize this, because it's when, excuse me, to visualize this. You're standing up on top of the tallest building in town, way up on top, so that you can see beyond the West Hills all the way to the Coast Range. And you look around 360 degrees in every direction, everywhere you look, to the tops of the mountains, to the ridge lines, as far as you can see. And in the early 19th century, that was 100% native. And there were hundreds of villages in that, in that vast region. And in just a matter of a few decades, 90 to 95% of the people were dead. I mean, can you imagine what that's like, to have everybody around you, your village, your neighborhood, all ages just dying? What happens? Lewis and Clark documented in 1805 the Clackamas tribe living, about 1,800 people living in 11 villages around Willamette Falls, you know, and right down here on the Willamette River, right? And then in the matter of just a couple of seasons, there was only 88 left alive. And those few were force marched over the mountains to the Grand Ronde. Some of them died on the way. You know, they're still over there. So, see, in just a matter of a few decades, what was 100% native became 100% white. Because you had to be white to get the free land, and the land was free. So what's happened since, what has changed since then in terms of the relationship with the power structure that imposed itself here and Indian country? The tribal authorities are still way over on the other side of the mountains. Nobody's invited them back. Nobody's talked to them about sovereignty issues or asked them, what can we do to help keep your language alive? You know, we're sorry that, you know, 100% of your homes were destroyed and your villages were looted and burned, and all the graves that we could find, we looted them and sold what we found in there and desecrated the remains. She's sorry about all of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody's ever said anything like this. It's like when people talk about Oregon, it's like it just sprang out as the Garden of Eden in 1850. But see, in just a couple of years, all those white settlers poured in here, and you had to be white to get the free land.
160 acres per man.
That's right. Far more than any person could farm themselves. See, these are speculators, and they've been made to be heroes, you know. And if you were coming out here, you come all this way, and you brought with you all your hostility and bad attitudes towards Native people, well, you know, you come out here, and the only thing that's standing between you and your 160 acres of paradise is some Indian family. You know what? No one ever suffered any social or legal consequences for murdering Indians in Oregon. Nobody did. Mm-hmm. Didn't matter what age they were or what the circumstances were. And not only that, because, see, Indian title wasn't extinguished until long after the land was stolen. It was stolen. Everything in this vast, you know, 360 degrees, everything was stolen, every square inch.
Well, I believe that
You know?
the claim was by the government was that Indians didn't have proper title to the land.
Well,
They didn't
see,
have formal written title to the land, so therefore they didn't own the land.
there were any number of ways, you know, that they had of stealing land. But see, here's another thing that happened here people are not aware of. Ever since the Pilgrims and, you know, all of that, you know, back there on the East Coast, the public policy didn't matter who's in what political party's in power. Public policy for the Indians was always the same. Take what they got and push them west, right?
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden, see, things happened real fast in 1846. 1846, the western boundary of the U.S. was on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, right? And everything below Ashland, Oregon, was Mexico. So, Colorado to California, all Mexico, right? You find a map of the nation, you'll see it says Mexico, right? That'll explain why there's so many Mexicans there, you know? But the thing is, the U.S. invaded Mexico in 1846, and in 1848, when that war came to an end, the U.S. agreed originally to recognize existing Spanish land grants in California. So there wasn't any big tracts of land that they could give away, because I mean, they, you know, of course, they abrogated that agreement like always, you know. But at the time, what do you need to do to motivate people to, you know, take their family and everything they got and, you know, and go west and risk your life and all that kind of stuff? How do you motivate them? Well, in 1848, gold got discovered in California and southern Oregon, and that's all the motivation those people needed. So, first thing that the California legislature did was establish a fund to reimburse people for Indian scalps, a bounty system that even included you could get your expenses for murdering the Indians. You could get that covered too. And that was the first act. Now, up here in Oregon, there weren't any Spanish land grants. None at all. So how do you motivate people? Free land.
Free land.
Come out here and be rich. So, you know, they came out here and knowing that this land had not been, no treaties had been signed. You know? But what people don't realize is all those settlers came out here, they had license to kill. License to kill Indians with no consequences. So, you know, that's the deep history. Needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, I think the one thing that really impacts is that, you know, they came, they tried to conquer, and they, you know, now where we're at now, they're putting up homes and everything like that. They're living here now. So I think the one thing how I look is the land will always belong to Native people. This land here, I take care of it. Like when I, you know, walk around, I try to still take care of the earth, you know, Mother Earth. But it's just kind of the hardship that we have to accept, that it happened, you know, where we got wiped out by the non-Native people, and we're living here in cities, and now we must overcome that, you know, overcome the depression, the sadness, you know. And that's what I think that people should know, the history of everything, how it came to be, and now we must, you know, prevail from it, because a lot of our, you know, Native people are not, they're not respecting the land, they're not caring, they don't care, you know. That's like a lot of our youth are becoming, you know, they just don't care, you know. And that's what scares me the most, is that, well, yeah, if we get all our land back, the government says, well, we'll give you all your land back. Well, we won't be using it, because maybe a quarter of it, Native people will use it for farming or whatever, but the rest of them will just sell it. They'll sell it back to the government. And that's what's happened time and time before again. I know families that have got land, you know, in Chiloquin, they got their land back. Oh, they got it back for free, but they sold it. They sold it to the government back for money, you know. So I'm thinking that if we do get our resources to get a place, you know, get our land back, are we going to use it efficiently, or are we just going to go for the gold and sell it, you know? So that's what I'm kind of thinking about, is, you know, we need to get more people involved, more youth involved. And that's the number one thing I think I say got come out of my mouth, is our youth, you know. And that's going to be the hardest to motivate, because a lot of them are growing up like how every kid grows up, is, I don't care, that doesn't affect me, you know. And I'm not saying that all of them, I'm just saying that majority of the Native population, they just living day to day, working, surviving, just like you and me, you know, just like everybody. And a lot of us don't have time to, you know, save the world, or, you know, do it, you know. It's just like it's like a work in progress, you know. And yeah, we know all the bad stuff that has happened, you know, we know that, you know. We just got to kind of, you know, find a medium to that, you know.
Yeah, you know, I've gotten, you know, I'm not a grocer and I'm not a developer, you know. I work on public policy, you know, and I keep running up against arguments from people that, gee, the Native people, well, they're poor, how are they going to be able to afford to shop in the co-op? You know, I mean, those are actual real questions that I keep hearing more and more.
Yeah.
And you know, the thing is, when the co-op is established, it's easy to, you know, the structure can have special pricing for elders and that kind of stuff. You know, it's a cooperative. It's not going to be you know, a profit venture. There's not a lot of profit in groceries anyway. You know, the issue is access to healthy and wholesome, nutritional and traditional foods. Yeah. And one of the things that I realized, see, I took 5 trips with Winona last year. We went to visit the Makah, the Umatilla, the Yakima, Nez Perce, and down the Winneman-Wintu, down by McLeod. You know, and one of the things you know, and I've traveled in Indian country, you know, around here in the region since I moved up here. And one thing that kind of came to realize is that isolation, how much isolation is an issue. Isolation, you know, so small in number, and even here in the big city, you know, isolated still. You know, and use an example, Celilo Village. You know, there's no grocery out there, there's no store, there's no place to buy a cup of coffee, there's nothing. You know, now, and this is where the market, the concept is to create a hub here in Portland. A hub where, for example, and the USDA has just announced a couple of grants they've awarded to Oregon tribes, and AT&I just got a USDA grant. They're putting in commercial ice machines, including there's one of them is going to be in the gorge. And picture a refrigerated van that would travel from the Portland hub out to Umatilla, to the Mission Market and Umatilla, you know, providing whatever the people on the route. That would mean stopping in Cascade Locks, Hood River, Celilo Village, and on its way. And it would be not only carrying foods, you know, but it's a two-way way of communication and
trade.
connecting the community in ways to where, you know, you can imagine that, especially if places isolated as Celilo is, to have that connection, you know, where they don't have to go drive somewhere, you know, and the culture comes there. Like, this is one of the major observations here. Celilo was for thousands of years, it was a place to gather. Then when the white settlers poured in here, it became a place to exploit. And if native people could even get to the river, they were trespassing a lot, right? And now, with flooding of the falls to get the barges past Celilo, it's become a place to hurry past. We need to bring it back to where it's a place to gather. You know, and so we don't have to wait for the falls to come back to start restoring the trading economy. But see, this is not something that Celilo people can do themselves. They're so isolated and so far from, they don't have any political power. But see, with our partners, like the USDA is offering grants, you know, and these other institutions in the state, they can all have a piece of this too, you know, because we're all interested in improved health outcomes, equity and justice, social justice, people like that. But you know, if you're out there, and whether you're an elder, you know, or you're raising a family, or you're a kid just growing up, man, you know, the arrival of the van, you know, with whatever it's carrying, that's going to be cool. You know, and there's a way to do that. And also, same thing, a van that runs down I-5, you know, connects with Roseburg, the Cow Creek Umpqua. They just got a grant to build a multi-species meat processing facility down there from the USDA. So there's going to be a meat supplier, right? And another van that goes out to Grand Ronde and onto the coast. They've got to go, at the Grand Ronde, they've got to go 30 miles in any direction to get to a grocery store.
Wow.
Right? And they're...
So it's closer for them to just go out and dig some roots in the neighborhood.
They are working they're working on that permaculture and starting to grow crops. Looking at that, the Siletz are looking at buying cropland.
Well, you know, Sean, the fishery has always been very commercial, and it seems like huckleberries are sold around the res a lot, but I know the roots are very rarely traded or sold. Usually the roots they dig are kept for the family. And I know I proposed one time, since we had the tribe, my Umatilla tribe has their own agricultural facility, greenhouse and tractors, and it was mainly started to reintroduce native plants to the region and to the reservation in particular, to restore the native plants that have been lost. But when I talked to one of my elders about, well, maybe we should start growing camas and just make a ton of camas and sell camas. That'd be profitable. And he told me that that is really against the teachings of the elders in the Umatilla community. They feel like it's our responsibility to make sure that there are places still available where those roots can grow themselves without our help. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see the commercialization and, you know, taking camas and putting in a field like we do wheat. So I think there'll be some problems about getting some of the foods, some of the native foods for the market. So it may be an obstacle you'll have to confront.
Yeah,
Well,
I think the one thing you have good going for this is that salmon, salmon and fish foods. And I know we can't get the huckleberry or, because I had the sacred and all the other sacred foods that grow on lands, but I know the salmon is the number one, thing. You can eat that 24/7 a day, and
That's
you'll be good to go.
Year
So
round.
I'm thinking that the salmon would be one kind of powerful thing is that we'll be selling the salmon or for the grocery store for anything, and also protecting the salmon as well. Because if we keep it going, then that'll we'll go to fish markets and stuff like that and be able to sell them. And
That's right.
That's what I'm thinking is that if we cannot have a sustainable a structure of like having all the native foods, just have the things that are really healthy, salmon and everything like that, and make it into where everybody goes there shopping every day, just like when they go to Safeway, when they go to Fred Meyer's, make it to where, well, we're gonna go to Indian Hut over there or something. I don't know. It's something, just something. We gotta go to Salmon Mill or something like that. I don't know, something crazy. Just like in their minds, they're used to going to a store because they had Starbucks or they had Blockbuster or they got the Red Box there. But we can do that too as well if you have something to get them in the door. Is Starbucks will have a building open up in there. They'll share it with you, and so it's kind of like we want to make it a natural thing to the brain. Is I gotta go to the store, I'm gonna get some fish, or gotta get something for for dinner. We gotta make it to where we're not going. We have to go to this because I like their prices, or I like them because they got prices. But actually make it into where it's everybody's gonna wow, we should go that way. We should go there first, And I think that's one thing. Yeah, the obstacle is foods, but you already have one in the bag. Salmon and stuff that's natural.
Yeah.
And people can eat that. People,
That's right. And not only that, but see, the market would have to have a deli and a seating area, and so smoked salmon, man, you can see that is year round.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, smoked
Or
salmon
dry.
chowder and sandwiches and salads.
Canned salmon, you can have it
all that kind of stuff.
People, you can have it any way. You can have Spam in there if you want. I don't know, just something to where people are looking towards, like when they're canning. Canning food, it lasts a long time. So people go in there. The only way you can get a canned salmon, smoked salmon, is at a powwow, or you pay outrageous prices for smoked salmon in a can, in a small can, or and that's expensive. But think of it as, canned salmon is, would be at a good price, and it won't hurt anybody, And that's what I'm thinking. And later on, put a casino in there. I don't know. But
There you go.
But just kind of think, doing things that are, that'll help us a little bit, Because I'll shop there. I'll go over there, I mean, it's just the only place I go is Safeway because it's close by. But if I knew there was better deals, better things going on, I'd go that way,
Well, the thing also is this is job creation too. A market this size would create 100 or so jobs, full-time permanent jobs.
Yeah. Somebody to make the salmon, somebody to smoke it, somebody to can it, somebody to
Transport it.
Yeah, it's
Well, the tribes will do what they want to do. What needs to happen is for the elected leaders here in the city and the county and metro and PDC and the state to have that meeting. They need to figure out how they can actually reach the leadership of Indian country here and work with them. 'Cause they're sovereign nations. This has to be something that's done on that level.
Yeah.
The land, they probably already have it. It's in an inventory somewhere. It's unused. They already have the land. They need to work that out. And
Well, you think we've batted this subject around enough, Sean?
yes, that's a good run at it.
Yeah, we got a good coverage.
well, we'll take probably a 10-minute break.
Yeah, 5-10 minute
And
break.
we'll show you Winona,
Yeah,
new project. And
that's right.
Jim, whenever you're ready to, we're going to have some more powwow footage from University of Washington. And so we'll just wait for that.
And we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
after the powwow video.
Don't unplug yourself. All right, we are back.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for watching Native Nations, the premier show in Portland for Native issues.
The best.
The
of
best,
the best
definitely.
show. Better than Spike TV.
Yeah, that's right. So thanks for watching. We wanted to talk about Winona's new book, which Sean here is editor, or what was your role in the
Co-author.
Co-author.
Yes.
All right.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, very good. And we happen to have an advanced copy here, which Sean just generously gave to me. I don't know why he did that.
It's to the donation to the Native Nations Library.
Oh, that's right. So I'll have to pass it around to everybody else
Yeah.
after I read it. No problem. Can we get a close-up on this, Jim?
And that's the artwork by Bunky Echohawk.
Yeah, and I noticed there's a lot of good inside. There's some really good artwork.
Uh-huh.
And
Frank Buffalo Hyde.
what else can you tell us about the book, Sean?
It's the story of the militarization of Indian country. And there's a lot of very tough stories in there. And as you know, you're not going to be surprised to know. But over the years, much of Indian country has been militarized for uranium extraction and testing of weapons. And one of the things that we noticed was that, see, as military weaponry, biological, chemical agents have become more and more lethal, well, the people that make those, I mean, they're as dangerous to the people that are manufacturing, storing, as they would be against the enemy, right? Well, they need remote places to store and manufacture this stuff. And where's that? Indian country.
My unceded lands is the most polluted nuclear reservation in the world, the Hanford Nuclear, well, not the world anymore because Chernobyl, but the Hanford Nuclear Reservation is on my tribe's ceded lands.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a ton of waste material that they just put out in open pits
Mm-hmm.
that is going into the watershed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was, as we started working on the, Winona's been working on this book for a number of years. And we actually met 2 years ago, same day, the first time I came on Native Nations. And she was speaking at Portland State, and I interviewed her for KBOO and on what she was working on. And then she interviewed me on the Jim Pepper Festival, and that I was working on, Jim Pepper.
All right.
And both of those interviews are on YouTube. And but we kept in touch, and she sent me the draft of this manuscript several months later, and we started to correspond about it. And then I started to work as her editor, and a year later, she, it got to the point where it was going to print, and she gave me co-authorship credit. And so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
That is very, very cool.
Way to go.
One of the things that, as we were writing it, there was a story in the news about a vial of VX nerve toxin went missing at the Fort Dugaway Proving Grounds, and that's in Shoshone territory, I think. And so a little vial, right, and they locked the base down until they found this thing. That's how lethal it is, right?
Wow.
And as it turned out, it was just misplaced. But we're talking about a little vial with a few grams. That's how lethal it is. Well, in the course of researching the book, I came across this story about Fort Greely in Alaska some years back, where some mastermind in the Army out there, they needed to destroy some rockets and artillery shells that were full of VX nerve toxin.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they did was they took these couple of hundred rockets and artillery shells and stacked them on top of a frozen lake. Are you already starting to figure out what went wrong here? Well, you know what? They forgot about them. And when the spring came and the ice melted, that all sank down to the bottom of the lake. And a couple of years go by before anybody wondered, hey, what happened to all those rockets and artillery
With the
shells?
nerve gas in them.
Exactly. Well, they had to drain the lake. They had to drain the lake to get them out of there. And so the Army calls that lake Blueberry Lake, but the GIs call it VX Lake.
Well, I would think that the corrosion or those seals may have been broken. I mean,
Well, not to mention, you know, terrorists, domestic terrorists getting a hold of something like that. Man, you know. So there's another story of back in the 60s or 70s, there was a plan called Operation Chariot, where the powers that be planned to blast a new harbor in Alaska with a chain of atomic bombs.
oh, brilliant.
Seriously. Yeah, the headline to the paper is one of the illustrations in the book. Yes, very nearly pulled that off. Yeah, very nearly pulled that off. And so the book is divided into 4 sections. The impact of the military, the U.S. military on the people, the impact of the military on the land. The 3rd chapter is on the impact of the military on the economy, and the last chapter is about the military in the future and Winona's concepts and ideas of how to transform the military to be more like
Peace Corps?
well, you know, more like a peace chief, maybe.
Peace Chief?
More like a peace chief, you
That
know.
would be great.
You know, more like that, you know. And look at all the troops that are coming home right now to no jobs.
Yeah.
No jobs.
No home.
Yeah, and no jobs, you know. What she's saying is that we need to get to change things so that these soldiers are learning skills and using these skills that are involved with sustainability and food production and that sort of stuff. And you know, nobody is going to put their army into a fleet of ships and sail them across the ocean to invade the United States. Nobody's going to do that, right?
Probably
and there's no
not.
army is going to invade from Mexico, and no army is going to invade from Canada. We're pretty secure in that regard.
Yeah.
Well,
You
I
know?
guess it's a point of just in case aliens come out of the sky and we need artillery to take them out. That's probably what their excuse is, you know, for having that having that stuff ready to go, you know, and in case there was ever a shutdown of the world, to have enough bullets for each of us, you know. That's how basically they tell us, is they say, well, yeah, we got enough for you. It's kind of crazy to think about, but
Yeah, and she writes about the fact that of all the ethnics and racial, you know, populations, it's the Native American population that has the highest percentage of enlistment in the military, highest percentage of veterans, and the highest percentage of those that suffer from PTSD. And there's reasons that these all stack up. Part of them, you know, I mean, Native young people join the military for the same reasons that other people do, you know, tradition in the family, can't get a job, you know, and doing something else. You know, there's all different kinds of reasons, but also in Indian country, the military has targeted the recruitment there. And of course, a lot of Indian populations, you know, they're right next to the army base where they were, you know, forced to move way back in the Indian War days, right? They're still there. So there's this proximity as well, and then lack of opportunity. You know, where's the jobs? You know, this is the only job that there is. And also there are some who it's a matter of honor. And even though that the United States has never honored a treaty, they feel a duty to honor their end, right?
Well,
so
a
there's
lot
all
of
these
it
other
is
reasons.
I know in a lot of cases tribes are concerned about protecting their homeland.
Mm-hmm.
So they know if they're in the military, they're helping to protect their homeland.
You know, one thing that I want to say for sure before we run out of time on this is that people need to understand, you know, the Native communities, but people in general, communities in general, need to understand that the nature of war has changed dramatically, you know, to where this IEDs, you know, and the
Drones.
And, well, the traumatic brain injury is not just the signature industry of the war in Iraq, that's the signature industry of war, period, now. Because IEDs are so easy to make, anybody can do it now, and the technology is everywhere. And, you know, you're facing an army that has tanks. You don't have tanks, you know. This is the nature of it. And what this means is, and as you see in the news, as we're learning more about the impact of these brain injuries, what's called closed head injuries, like football players too, you know, all that. And we're finding that hundreds of thousands of U.S. troops are suffering that right now.
Yeah.
See, so what people need to understand is that when you're sending a member of your community out to the military to go to war, a pretty high percentage of those people are going to come back and they're going to need lifetime care. And so you need to not be surprised by that. You need to know that and be building those support structures for them when they come back. Don't be surprised about it. Of the trillions of dollars that have already been budgeted and spent for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, only 1% of that is for medical care for the troops. Only 1%. You know, it can cost a couple of $100s to get a gallon of diesel fuel to Afghanistan. A couple of $100 a gallon.
Wow.
You know, it's expensive. And
well, that's why our military spends more than the whole rest of the world on our defense. I mean, come on.
yes, that's true. And
Ridiculous.
we talk about that in this book too. Yeah.
Yeah, the military.
More than everybody else.
The effect on the economy, I'm sure that's a good chapter on that one.
Before World War II, the Defense Department was called Department of War.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's what they ought to call it again.
And the Bureau of Indian Affairs was originally under the Department of War.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So really, the ideal here is just to eliminate war from our practice. No more war.
That's in their
Right.
history. That's what that's what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
War is in our history.
No
you
more
know?
war.
Well, you know, Winona makes the distinction between wars for a purpose, wars to protect the people, to protect the land, and wars fought for empire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fundamental difference. That's the fundamental difference in that the military should repurpose itself to where what it's doing is protecting the people and protecting the land. And
Yeah.
what is really valuable in our nation, what we really can't do without, how about fresh water?
Clean,
Fresh
water.
water, right?
Yeah.
So the military should be helping defend our fresh water, our clean water, like the Oglala Aquifer that's being threatened by the Keystone XL pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what the military ought to be doing, is stopping that sludge at the border, right? That's what they ought to be doing.
Yeah. Not to mention the tar sands kill the water that they use to draw the oil from the sand, and the water is no longer fresh. It's forever
Contaminated, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we have peaked. Our fresh water is peaked. We are now on the downward side of our fresh water. We are reducing the amount of fresh water we have on the earth. And that can't be a good thing. That's against the law of nature.
Yeah, no way. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, are we coming down to the wire?
Yeah,
here?
we're getting down to the wire here. We should mention Jim Pepper.
We
Yeah.
got to mention Jim Pepper.
Sean, the saxophonist,
Jim
Native
Pepper.
American,
Jim Pepper, one of the
Portland.
finest musicians ever produced by this country, but very little known outside of Indian country and the international jazz community.
Was he Cree?
He was Creek and Caw.
Creek and Caw.
Creek and Caw.
Yeah.
And
And you can still hear his song, Witchy Taito, played by some of the local artists.
Thank you for coming
Thank
on.
you, Adam.
Coming
Thank you
on
so
our
much.
show.
Thank you, Sean.
David, thank you very much.
See y'all later next
Thank you,
month.
viewers.
Next month will be a great month.
Thanks to our crew behind the scenes.
Yes, thank you.
And if you want to volunteer, we would love to have your assistance. We need camera operators and others who are interested in helping Native nations.